Today we had two attacks in Brussels. The first attack happened at the airport, and in that attack, it appears we had one device go off on the ground, and another was a suicide vest. There was a third suicide vest found at the airport, which raises the possibility that it was some sort of a dud, or perhaps the attacker got cold feet and dropped it and left the area. The second device, or the second attack, happened on the metro near the Molenbeek neighborhood, which is very near the EU headquarters there in Brussels. That was a very deadly attack on a tightly packed train. So far, we're looking at in the mid-30s as far as overall casualties. These were very bloody attacks, but they were attacks that were directed against very soft targets. And these are the types of targets that we've seen hit in the past. Basically, the areas outside of the security cordons at airports, what we call the soft side of the airport. We've seen repeated attacks over the years at those, really since the Vienna and Rome attacks by the Abu Nidal organization back in the 1980s. Also, metros have been fairly popular targets for attacks. We've had several thwarted attacks in the U.S. or failed attacks. We've also, of course, seen two attacks in London. We've seen the Madrid attacks. To date, it appears that this attack was the work of the Islamic State. The Islamic State has been very active in Brussels, and indeed we saw many connections to Brussels from the Paris attacks that happened in mid-November. In recent weeks, we've seen several Islamic State members arrested by Belgian police as they've sought to tie up the rest of the network that was involved in the Paris attacks. Brussels has long been a kind of a hotbed of jihadism. We've seen a large number of Belgian citizens traveling to the fields of jihad to fight with groups such as the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. They've traveled to Syria. We've seen them travel to Iraq, to Libya, and to other places. We've also seen attacks inside Belgium itself. For example, we had the attack against the Jewish Museum in Brussels. So basically, with the history of jihadism in Brussels, it's not surprising at all to see an attack in Belgium and in Brussels specifically. These types of attacks against soft targets are well within the capabilities of groups such as Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State. They don't have to be coordinated by any sort of sophisticated terrorist apparatus. And basically, as we saw even back to the London 7/7 bombings, a small cell can plan and conduct these sorts of attacks against these sorts of targets that are very soft.